In our culture, judging anyone can label you a bigot or some kind of a phobe with responses like, mind your own business and who are you to judge? The words of Jesus are often used to shut down dissent. Judge not, or you too will be judged. It's a favorite verse and perhaps the only one some people know, and their theological interpretation is, you don't get to tell me what to do. What did Jesus mean? Should we be judging anyone? Welcome to Morning Tea. Hi, I'm Joanne Jolee. Welcome to you all. I'm so glad you found this channel where I offer just a sip of inspiration to lift your spirit. Now, saying who are you to judge is quite ignorant. Our judicial system is structured upon man judging man. We are judged by a jury of our peers. Regular people from the community get to decide. We look after each other. And this is how God established civil order going back to the days of Moses. You shall appoint judges and officials throughout your tribes and all your towns that the Lord your God is giving you, and they shall render just decisions for the people. Take this example from everyday judgment from raising my 5. There's a delicious smell of chocolate chip cookies. It's filling the house, and the children know that they can look forward to enjoying them after dinner. One of them thinks she has cleverly gone behind my back, but mother sees all, and she was intercepted on her way to the quiet corner to finish off the deed. So I say, what is behind your back, darling? Nothing. Did you take a cookie when I said we will all wait until after dinner? No. Can I see your hand, please? No. And she argues ferociously to ward off the inevitable truth being exposed. But eventually she surrenders in tears and hands it back to me. But this is a great teaching moment to discuss stealing, lying, obeying rules, why it matters. So these are the proper uses of judgment, but there is an unrighteous judgment. So let's go back to what Jesus said. Judge not, or you too will be judged. So what we need to do is read on a few verses to get better context, where we see that Jesus calls a class of people dogs and pigs. Now, I don't think that the don't judge me people get that far, because deciding exactly who is a dog and who is a pig requires judgment. Now, when Jesus is talking about judgment, he's talking in terms of measurement, nitpicking, fault-finding, and then he gives a clear example of someone pecking away at his brother who has this problematic speck in his eye, while the guy doing the judging has a log sticking out of his face. Don't you just love the humor? And then Jesus does some more name-calling. Hypocrite, two-faced. But watch what he does next. He doesn't tell the guy with the log in his eye to go away and stop his judging, but he tells him to deal with his own hypocrisy, and then he's going to be able to make proper judgments, humbly helping his brother with the problem that he's having. Jesus is in fact telling us to judge. And again, we look after each other. Too many times we make judgments from evil places of superiority and arrogance, even hate, and before even the facts are fully presented, deciding for ourselves what the motives are of someone else's heart. That's a dangerous place to go. Only God can make determinations about what people's motivations are for what they do. We have no idea what is going on in the hearts and minds of most of the people we associate with. So the measure we use. Jesus goes further into the way we ought to judge. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you. So what kind of a measure is he talking about? A long measure would be something like stepping back, taking time, listening carefully, waiting for all the facts to arrive and have them in hand, making an honest assessment and getting a clear picture. Isn't this the way we would like to be judged by that jury of our peers? Or do we use a short measure? We jump quickly to conclusions, allowing our emotions to bubble up and maybe personal vendettas to influence our opinion, or deciding a particular way for some personal benefit. However we measure situations, however we come to our conclusions and judgments about others, it's going to come back to us. It will be measured back to us in that same way. And Jesus was teaching us to avoid that ignorant, self-centered, speck-finding judgment. Maybe you were raised by a nitpicker and you couldn't get anything right, could you? You didn't measure up, it was unloving, it was unkind, it was mean, and the hypocrisy that you probably witnessed may have made you even bitter. In my book, I talk about a dramatic situation while I was sailing in New Zealand, where our yacht was caught in a severe storm and was breaking up. So I was writing in regard to the weather forecasting at that time before GPS and how to read the sky, and I quoted Jesus, who was judging the weather as an example of how to judge. When you see a cloud rising in the west, immediately you say, it's going to rain, and it does. And when the south wind blows, you say, it's going to be hot, and it is. Hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time? Why don't you judge for yourselves what is right? So we judge first and foremost ourselves to make sure that we are not being hypocritical all over a brother, pointing out their problems, their little speck of a problem, while we have this great big log of the same kind in our face. We can be so easily blinded by our arrogance, and I'm reminded of the blindness of King David after it seemed like he got away with adultery and murder. God sent out his prophet Nathan to tell him a little story. There was a rich man with a large number of cattle and sheep, and a poor man with one little ewe lamb, who he had raised along with his children. It ate and drank with him and slept in the man's arms. It was like a daughter to him. The rich man wanted to prepare a feast for a guest, and he would not take an animal from his large herds, but instead he took that one little lamb from the poor man. At this, King David was outraged, and he said, "That man must die." And Nathan said to him, "You are the man." Let's not be the man. Let's judge ourselves before God has to get involved. It's not going to go so well then. Another thing we too often fall into is judging ourselves unrighteously. What are the horrible lies and condemnations we make on ourselves? Failure, stupid, not enough, unattractive, unlovable, and on. We should not be thinking or saying things like that about ourselves, when in Christ we have everything and we are everything. We are members of a chosen race. We are adopted into God's family. And let me interject here. A family close to us adopted a child out of the foster care system, and they chose her. And on the official day of her adoption, the little girl was so happy and proud, and they posted a picture of her holding a sign, and it said, "Today is my last day in foster care. I have been adopted." Beautiful. Back to the list. We are a child of God, the King of the universe. We are royalty. We are an heir of an inheritance of the highest imperishable value. We are free people, powerful, confident, sanctified, holy, and so very much more. So let's always be making proper judgment on who we are and act like it. Why is it so important that we get judging right? Because it's preparation for a much bigger job. Don't you know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world will be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Do you not know that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? So in summary, should we judge? Absolutely, all day long. The person with the Spirit makes judgments about all things. We judge all matters, always, ourselves, others, without condemnation, with discernment, with a humility and a generous measure, the kind of measure we want to be judged with, and not be the man. This scratches the surface. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below, and thank you so much for being here. I'm Joanne Jolee. This is Morning Tea. I'm here every week, and I want to remind you this week to look for the blessings. They are all around you. Bye-bye.